I was 16 years old during my junior year of high school. My school day consisted of 9 periods, with lunch during the 5th period, followed by my astronomy class. This class was held in one of the 2 basement classrooms, as my large high school had 3 floors and still couldn't accommodate all the classes offered. To solve this, the school converted a former janitorial area into 2 basement classrooms that resembled typical hallways, although it still had an eerie feel when empty. Notably, there were no intercoms or loudspeakers in the basement at that time, so classes couldn't be held there during first period when morning announcements were made. Everyone referred to this section of the basement as the chamber, and students often hoped to have classes there because it was air-conditioned and generally less demanding. Plus, it had its own bathroom. On that particular day, we had a quiz in astronomy. I usually finished quickly because I found the material easy. Once I completed my quiz, I texted my friend in the other basement classroom to meet me in the bathroom, as I was bored. He agreed, and I walked out of my classroom and down the small hallway to the bathroom. A few seconds later, my friend JJ entered. We joked around for a while until JJ checked his phone and said someone had texted him about a lockdown at the school. We exchanged mischievous grins, realizing that neither of our teachers had noticed us leaving the classrooms. This meant we could explore the school during the lockdown. We decided to sneak upstairs to check out the hallways, reasoning that we could always claim we hadn't heard the announcements in the basement. Upon opening the basement door to the main floor, we were shocked to find all the lights turned off, leaving the hallways nearly pitch black except for the light spilling in from the lobby doors. This was unusual since the lights were typically left on during lockdowns. Something felt off, and we hesitated to continue. JJ cautiously stepped into the hallway, and I followed. Suddenly, JJ whispered, "Who's that?" I looked up to see a man emerging from the darkness. At first, we couldn't tell if he was a teacher, but as he got closer, it became clear he was not dressed like any staff member. He looked disheveled. "All right, let's go," I urged JJ, and we hurried back to the basement. We saw both classrooms had their doors shut and lights off, so to avoid drawing attention, we decided to hide in the bathroom. I turned off the light as we slipped into the corner stall. Silence enveloped us. No ventilation, no heaters, just our breathing and the occasional drip from the sink. Suddenly, the bathroom door opened and light flooded the room. The door shut, plunging us back into darkness. We tried to control our breathing, but the silence was deafening. We heard footsteps approaching our stall, followed by heavy breathing. In a moment of panic, JJ whispered, "We have to crawl out through the other stalls." The quiet was so profound that even his whisper echoed. The heavy breathing outside our stall stopped, and we felt the person pressing against the stall door. I whispered urgently to JJ, "Go, go." We crawled under the partition to the next stall, then to the next, until we reached the far side of the bathroom. The person outside began banging on the stall door. We jumped up, flung open the door, and as light streamed in again, we saw the man from upstairs in the corner. We pounded on the door of JJ's classroom. The teacher let us in almost immediately. JJ explained everything as the teacher locked the door, mentioning he had seen a gun sticking out of the man's pocket. I was shocked. I hadn't noticed a gun, but I went along with it. Usually, students would laugh at a scene like this, but everyone in the corner looked genuinely concerned. A sudden bang at the door made everyone jump, and a couple of girls squealed in fear. We could see the man at the door, peering through the window while trying the doorknob. After several frustrated bangs, he turned and walked down the hallway back to the stairs. We sat in silence for over an hour, with the teacher occasionally asking JJ and me questions, shaking his head in disbelief at our story. Eventually, someone upstairs called the teacher, instructing us to line up and exit the building, where we were met by police. JJ and I did our best to describe the man to the officers and the dean. One of the cops patted me on the back as we were dismissed to go home. In the aftermath, the school installed security cameras and increased the security budget. This incident never made the news, so we never found out if the police caught the man. I'm convinced he intended to harm us in that bathroom stall. Years later, as a retired New Jersey police officer, the most disturbing call I received was for a lockdown at a nearby middle school, which I will not name for legal reasons. It was a stormy day when my unit was dispatched to investigate a suspicious-looking man seen exiting a white van parked behind the school and entering through the back door by the boys' locker room. I arrived at the back parking lot next to the white van, finding it empty with all doors locked. I opened the red back door that led into the gym hallway near the locker rooms. The main lights were off, leaving the school dark. I unholstered my flashlight and navigated the dim halls. A woman emerged from the front office, instructing me to check the boys' locker room, but to proceed with caution, as the suspect might be armed. I called for backup and was assured help was on the way. As I approached the boys' locker room, I pushed the door open quietly. The room had no windows, and the only light came from my flashlight. I heard strange scratching noises and faint thuds against the locker doors. I was supposed to announce my presence, but fear gripped me. The tension was palpable. I held my flashlight with one hand and my gun with the other as I crept through the locker room. room. The sounds seemed to come from the other side, leading me to the corner by the bathroom door. Suddenly, a locker door slammed from the football team's locker room, startling me. I moved toward the sound and discovered it was indeed coming from there. Finally, I mustered the courage to shout, "Police!" A kid's muffled voice screamed for help from somewhere in the room. He was pounding on a locker door from the other side. My stomach sank when I realized he was trapped inside. I reassured him I'd be right back, then rushed outside to find the white van gone. I realized my mistake. I hadn't noted the license plate. I alerted dispatch to be on the lookout for a suspicious white van. I returned to the school and instructed the front office staff to end the school day and send someone with a key to free the boy. The man had held him at knife point while trying to force the 12-year-old to his van. The boy was bleeding from a cut on his arm, inflicted while he resisted. A week later, the man's van was spotted in a 7-Eleven parking lot, where he was arrested after being identified. During a visit to Rowan University, a college I was considering, I stayed at a Hampton Inn in New Jersey. Since my family couldn't join me, I was on my own. After attending campus tours, I had dinner at a nearby restaurant and returned to the hotel around 8 p.m., planning to visit the campus again the next day. About an hour after returning to my room, a strange alarm began blaring, accompanied by a flashing white light from the corner of the ceiling. A message started looping, instructing all Hampton Inn guests to remain in their rooms due to a lockdown. I had never heard of a hotel lockdown or seen alarms like this before. Initially, I found it more intriguing than alarming. Eventually, the alarm stopped, but the light continued to flash and the message repeated every 20 seconds. It was only around 9:30, so I turned on the TV for background noise while I changed clothes and brushed my teeth. After shutting off the lights, I climbed under the covers. The persistent flashing light was irritating, and I considered calling the front desk to inquire about the situation. Just then, the phone rang. It was someone from the front desk. I expected her to address the alarm, but instead, she spoke in a concerned tone, instructing me to remain calm and walk out the door. I seized the moment to ask what was happening. She told me there was someone in my room and urged me to exit immediately. I dropped the phone and instinctively began searching the room. Part of me was curious to see if someone was indeed there. I checked under the bed and in the empty bathroom. Nothing. Then I noticed the closet door next to the bathroom, slightly ajar. Through the crack, I caught a glimpse of a person's face. It didn't register at first, but when the door slid shut, panic set in, and I bolted out the door. The front desk staff showed me security footage from an hour earlier, revealing a suspicious-looking man wandering the hallways, seemingly searching for a specific room. When he reached my door, he opened it with a card he had somehow obtained. I stayed to watch as authorities apprehended the man in handcuffs. He looked at me as he passed, and it sent chills down my spine to think he might have been watching me for over an hour from that closet.